Are you one of those gamers that plays a lot of skirmish games and fancy the idea of playing a mass battle, but storage, cost, and gaming space are an issue? Then I might have a solution for you. To go big, we go small. So 15mm isn't the smallest scales available. You can go all the way down to 2mm. With one particular size that's quite popular is 6mm. And there is even a convention that caters for this scale called the Joy of Six, which is run and organised by Bacchus, held in Sheffield every year. And it's an annual war game dedicated to this scale, but there are manufacturers will be selling other scales there. But primarily that war game show is there to showcase 6mm in all its glory. So if you're brave enough to drop down to 6mm to paint it, I'm not personally, it's just too small for me, then Joy of Six is probably quite a good show to go to. And you'd be able to pick up your armies and miniatures, but you'll also be able to see it painted and on table in various war games that are being showcased there. So you'll be able to see it, and then you'll be able to play about with those games and get a feel for that scale. So, have I gone to smaller scales? The short answer is yes. I originally started with 15mm and Flavors of War, then moved on to Team Yankee, and I really like those scales for those two games. World War II and 15mm is great. Some people would argue 20mm is better for World War II. Some would argue 12mm is better. Plastic Soldier Company do 12mm, and that appeals to sort of a lot of people. But personally, for me, 15mm for that sort of war game is great. I'm looking at doing a 15mm sci-fi army this year, and I've made a start on that using speed paints actually. And so that was a test paint using speed paints, and it comes out all right. It's a nice scale, it's a nice tank. And I've taken the plunge to do 10mm fantasy and a 15mm fantasy army. So they're great scales. I'm quite happy in those scales. I don't think I'll go to 6mm. I might change my mind after I've been to Joy of Six this year. But unlikely. My eyesight is getting a bit wonkier with each year, and 6mm seems to be a scale that's just a bit too small for me. But I found that it's a great way to save money. It's addressing my storage issues. I can continue collecting and painting, and it's easier to store than it was when I'm sort of working on 28mm projects. I'm a bit of a hobby butterfly. I tend to sort of like pick here and there and play more than one scale, more than one sort of genre, different historical periods. And I was discovering that just buying 28mm range was becoming an issue where it was becoming more and more difficult to store. So I looked at smaller scales. I've been looking at 1/7/2 scale, and I looked down in lower scales and realised that would solve the storage issues. I wouldn't need as much space for one single army. I could probably fit 2, 3, maybe 4 armies, depending on the size, scale of the miniatures I was using, into the same space that I would store a 28mm army. So for me, it was the perfect solution. Is I want to go big, I'm going small. Are there barriers to going to smaller scales? Well, yeah. Just like most other war games at any other scale, switching to a smaller scale will mean you'll probably need to do some research into manufacturers' rules. 28mm is probably considered the mainstream of wargaming these days, and you can find plenty of 28mm sellers, and most flags will sell 28mm. And obviously you've got on the most high streets Warhammer that do fantasy and sci-fi in 28mm. So you will need to do a bit of research, probably a bit, investing in time to have a look around and see what's out there, and for you to find a manufacturer that you like,